Hey everyone. Today we're going to be talking about establishing a practice, legal and ethical considerations, specifically with regards to record keeping. Good record keeping is an important uh, asset to have for quality care. Um, it is unethical and even in many states illegal not to maintain good notes. Additionally, it really does help the client because you don't have to rely on memory with regards to the details of their lives. You can just refer to your notes and be current and create that continuity of service. Another thing to consider is that in a court of law, um, it is not often the therapist's word against the client's word, but the therapist's documentation against the client's word. So that's just something we really need to think about with regards to considering what we're going to do with all of our note taking records and documents. Um, with that said, let's move on to the handling aspect of things. Now, we've learned that when we start with a client, we want to share with them our personal disclosure statement, and then we also want to share with them informed consent and the limitations of that informed consent. But other things to consider when giving them that initial packet would be office policies. Um, Again, those limitations and confidentiality, any third party billing, and a permission to record and a permission for our supervisor to review any of our documents and review those sessions that we've had with clients. We want to also disclose the client's rights because we want to make sure that they can make an informed consent with regards to what they want out of the treatment. In addition to that, we really want to add any termination or cancellation policies in that whole packet, just so the client again is fully informed and we have expressed our boundaries as well and expectations for service. Other things that we want to maintain and keep a record of with regards to our client is the mental status exams that we might take, the diagnosis that we have or that have been provided for us, presenting problems that the client is beginning to express or has expressed in the past, any fee agreements that you've made, treatment plans, any risk factors that you see, and demographic information. Another thing to consider specifically with is to document any request for information. Now, and this should be done either way, but if the client doesn't seem that they would, it doesn't seem that they would benefit, or they could even be harmed from the full disclosure of your notes and information pertaining to them, it is important that you document the rationale as to why you wouldn't give them all of your notes. Because if you know that it's going to be harmful, you really want to back that should it ever come up in a court of law or just in general. In addition to all of that, if you're not overwhelmed yet, you want to have your description of the services provided, your HIPAA forms, consent to release information like treatment or test data, medical or education reports, progress notes, as well as, again, those termination notes. Let's see. Other special things to think about to add to your notes, just to be really thorough and on top of things. Any special occurrences that happen with your client, any important phone calls, text messages, or emails, any time that you have had contact with the client's family or friends, any instances of mandated reporting or other reporting, any referrals, any of those things. Those things we really want to have them on file. Again, to not only provide for our client that continuity of service, but to advocate for ourselves and to protect ourselves from any potential questioning or harm. Excuse me. If the client specifically requests that they don't want notes taken and it is federally and state permitted, then you really want to get that in writing as well. Ironically, you want to have notes on the fact that the client doesn't want notes. So those are very, very important that we have that. Again, should anything happen as far as a court of law, or should the client change their mind, you just want to have that on record. And these things can be found in the ACA in B3E, B6A, B6C, B6D, B6E, and B6F. And B6G, as well as WAC 246-924-354. And those are in your handout, so you don't really need to worry about it right now. The next thing we want to talk about specifically is the storage. How are we going to store these hard documents? Should you decide to have the hard documents, you want to keep those records in a locked place, but not only should they be in a locked place that's safe, but it should be in something that can protect against any break-in or theft, against any fire or water damage, or any unwanted access in general. You really want to be intentional about what you use and where you put it. Should you decide to go the electronic route and have everything on a cloud, or just saved on your laptop or tablet, you want to protect all of those with passwords, with virus protection, and with firewalls. If you're not technologically savvy, which I'm really not, you really want to seek out, the help of your techie friends or your supervisors, just so that you know that you're doing everything you can to protect the client's information. Now, from the Zur Institute shares that for important documentation, you really want to have a hard copy anyway, and again, put those in secure, safe places. Should anything happen to your technology, you have that backup, unless it is on the cloud, which we know has the potential for hacking. So just things to think about with this day and age. According to the WAC, all records must be retained for 8 years following the termination date, following the actual last session. To be clear, the last session you had with your client, following that point, there should be 8 years where you are keeping their documents and their information safe, as in this, with the same intentionality that you would a brand new client. If the client is a minor, then you want to keep those records until the client is 22 years of age, or it's been 8 years. So whatever is the greater length of time, you want to go for that. So if they're turning 22 in 3 years, then 4 years, then you really want to just go for that 8 and keep it. If this is something interesting to think about, and we're all so new to this that it's weird. If the therapist is providing services and realize that they no longer can provide those services, they're going to retire, they're going to give up their practice, or they're terminally ill, or they pass away, prior to that, you want to have a policy in place for what's going to happen to those documents in order to keep your patient's information safe. Some things that the Washington legislature tells us to do is to send the board within 60 days of writing your policy the information within your policy that tells the qualified person that you're going to refer your information to, the hospital or healthcare or referral people that you're going to send your clients to, and it needs to be a plan that's very specific with regards to maintaining those record obligations and hold those standards of efficacy. Finally, let's talk about disposal. Counselors are to store all of their records again for up to 8 years, and it is wise to use discretion when destroying records, because they may be needed in a court of law later on. Notes like child abuse, suicide, sexual harassment, or any violence should be kept. The psychologist may also want to maintain other specific records such as evaluations, test assessments, and the like, because that client might need it 10 years down the line. Just something to think about. After the 8 years have passed and you have decided that you are going to dispose of records, proper disposal means that the paper will be shredded, the online media is erased and reformatted, and other readable forms of media have been made unusable or unreadable. Again, you want to make sure that you're doing that so that there is no paper trail, nothing. Everything is destroyed. And that again can be found in the ACA and WAC, and that is in your handout. Thank you so much, guys. I hope this has been helpful.